What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of Trainer Talks with Trainer Dave. Joined by my second guest, John Galloup. John, appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
If you could kind of give us just a quick background and introduce yourself to all the listeners.
Yeah. So my name is John Galloup. I own LVL WOD Gym. Been in business for about 4 years now. We're actually celebrating our 4-year anniversary this Saturday.
Nice.
Yep. So been around Wichita for a long time, but kind of started my coaching practice back in California, actually.
Awesome. Okay. So were you born and raised in Wichita? Were you?
Yeah, I was actually born and raised in Michigan and then moved out to California and then moved out to Wichita after that.
Obviously, yeah, you're the owner of LVL WOD, which is awesome. I think you seem to be very well known in the area. Obviously, I had Anna Kate was my first guest, and you actually coached her back in the day.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends and are members at your gym, and they have nothing but good things to say about it. And then you also were a former Marine. Talk about your experience there.
Yeah, it makes me feel old thinking about I was coaching Anna Kate, I think before she even started her
I think she was
coaching practice.
Yeah, 18 or 16.
Yeah, when she was a teenager.
Yeah,
Man, I'm getting old. So yeah, I was in the Marine Corps back from 2010 to 2014. So, right out of high school, went in at, actually I think I turned 19 right before I went to boot camp.
Nice.
But went out to boot camp in San Diego and then went to Camp Pendleton after that, which is where I was stationed for the remaining time there. It was pretty much infantry the whole time. Yeah. So mortars first, and then the second half was snipers. So
that's awesome.
Pretty much 2 years in each, but infantry the whole way.
How do you feel like your experience in the Marine Corps, how did that help your coaching background?
So for me personally, when I was in high school, not a whole lot of good social skills, pretty socially awkward. Still am, but I've worked on it.
Hey, me too.
Yeah. So so when I got to the Marines, it really did help with my social skills and being able to, just be part of a group of people who having that team mentality, learning how to lead also. But the interesting thing about, especially in the snipers, is learning how to lead, but also without just relying on rank, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Because I think that's one of the cool things about the military is you do learn obviously that respect and rank structure, but you also learn when it's time to set that aside and when it's time to turn that on.
Right.
And me and my head coach, one of the reasons we work so well together is she was also in the military for about 10 years.
That's awesome.
And so her and I we know when to hey, this is professional, we're sitting down being professional time, or we're just hanging out having, just being friends time.
I think, cause you're a gym owner. I mean, basically as a gym owner, you're a leader, leadership skills are very important. And I know I train Ashley Hayes, I train her daughter, and that was something she described to me. She just said, John's just a really good leader. And so that's really, really cool.
It's interesting reflecting back on it because, in high school, I definitely would not have considered myself a leader, but it was weird because I remember in sports, I had my high school basketball coach give me an award for leadership, and I was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're a leader. You don't know?" I'm like,
really?
No, I don't. I definitely don't think of myself that way.
Yeah.
Turns out, just over the years, I've really kind of learned the skills to be to be better at it, and just kind of found myself in those positions without necessarily seeking them out. It's not something where I necessarily just wanted to be a leader, but it just kind of was the natural progression of things because I found I could have the best leverage to help people in a leadership role.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to improve their leadership skills?
Ooh, well, you definitely got to put yourself out there.
Right.
Definitely got to be humble. I think you got to learn from other leaders. I can think of so many mentors over the years that poured into me, really made a big impact, from high school coaches through the Marines, because in the Marines you see all kinds of different leaders from so many different backgrounds. And so you get to take the things you like from leaders that you really respected. You can take, and just, push to the side things that you didn't like from the leaders that you thought did not do a good job. And you can really use that to help mold you.
So we'll talk about, your CrossFit background. So from what I understand, you're a pretty high level CrossFitter.
I don't know about that.
Did you compete at all in CrossFit?
I did compete, but more at just a local level.
Yeah.
There was definitely a time where I was really into competing as far as I was really working towards hitting to the next level. At the time, man, show my age again. At the time there was regionals and stuff. So I was working so hard towards that. Just multiple workouts a day, really getting after it, doing some local competitions. I just never got strong enough to compete at that level. My conditioning was pretty darn good. My gymnastics was okay, but I just could not lift the weights that those other guys were. Like Tate, like, yeah, Tate can like look at a barbell and get stronger if he wants to.
Yeah. Why did you really like ultimately want to get involved in CrossFit?
Let me take you way back. So when I was back in probably high school, it was probably just out of junior high, actually, into high school. Back in Michigan, my martial arts instructor actually started his own CrossFit gym back in like 2008. So this was like, I think the first year they had the CrossFit Games, or maybe the second year.
Was this in Wichita or was this?
In Michigan.
Oh,
in
Michigan. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2008. So a long time ago. It's where I kind of felt at home when I was going to his CrossFit gym. I was just like, I feel like I can be myself. I feel like I'm accepted here. It's kind of where I just, felt at home. And so that's actually what really got me into that style of training.
Nice.
Was I enjoyed it, but mostly B, I just really did feel like I belonged. And that's important to a kid in high school who's not confident about who he is yet.
Yeah.
Kind of was just like luck of the draw, and it kind of chose me. So I got raised in it when I was 16.
Yeah.
And I've just been doing it ever since. Plus, I was preparing for the military. So I was 16, preparing for the military, doing that CrossFit style training. And then when you get into the Marines, well, at the time, by this time it was about 2010, 2011. CrossFit's really on the up and up, especially in the military, especially in the Marines. And so it was just like the obvious choice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll kind of share this story. I met John. I think we connected through Facebook, I think Tyler, kind of a mutual friend of ours, mentioned your name. And then I saw your Keeper of the Gains brand, and I ended up getting to snag a shirt from you. I kind of thought to myself, like, I've never tried a CrossFit class. And obviously I knew you were a gym owner that owned a CrossFit gym. So I got to try out your gym and your workouts, and it's really cool. Like it's a community is what I would say is what you have over there. It's not just people working out by themselves. I love the good luck fist bumps you do before every workout. And I think it's really cool. And I think that's probably why your gym is successful and why CrossFit's growing in Wichita is because people probably feel like they belong over there.
Yeah, it's really important to make people feel like they belong. That's actually kind of like one of my main focuses. It's intentional, is making people feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And we're actually not even affiliated with CrossFit.
Okay.
So we do similar styles of training.
Gotcha.
And I've done similar styles of training over the years. There are some differences, but by all, like, the definition of CrossFit's very broad. And I do have several certificates through CrossFit. But we don't sell CrossFit. But if you're just walking, by, right, you'd probably be like, oh, that was probably a CrossFit workout, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about your educational and your coaching background. So how long have you been coaching for?
So I've been certified to coach since 2012. So about 11 years. About 11 years.
Awesome.
Obviously, there were ebbs and flows in there with how consistently I was coaching, because I got certified to coach while I was in the Marines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was nice because I got a little $200 off discount for being active military.
Nice,
so it was great. And then did a bunch of like interning out in California and did like a lot of reading and research while I was in the Marines.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like actively getting paid to coach probably until like 2015. So it was several years of just study and interning, several years of that.
What about your degree? Like, what did you get your degree in?
So I got my degree in exercise science from WSU, which is interesting because I listened to your and Anna Kate's podcast, and she was saying how she went to WSU for business.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it was kind of interesting. So I have the other side of
That's what I do
that
too.
degree option. Oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Did you go to WSU then?
Went to Friends.
Okay,
But
Friends.
physical education. So I guess I would ask that is like, so you're running a business, but you have a degree in exercise science. Like, do you feel like it's been a struggle? Like you've really, really had to grind and learn the business side? What are your thoughts on that?
All right, here's my thoughts on that. So I feel like even though I've owned my gym for about 4 years, my first 3 years of owning that gym, I was really just owning it to be a coach, essentially.
Right.
I feel like this year, 2023, has been my first like official, like I'm now doing this as a gym owner, not as a coach who happens to own a gym. So I had a big like paradigm shift pretty much at the end of last year where I was like, this year we're going to be going in as a gym owner.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's actually really well said because that's very common is like, there's a lot of gyms in Wichita, but like there's a lot of times where it's literally the owner is doing all the training.
Right.
And I think that's really cool, but I'm sure, and we'll probably talk a little more about it later. I'm sure there's burnout because you're probably training tons of hours, and they say you kind of get stuck working in the business rather than on it.
Yeah, we can talk about all that.
What about certifications?
Yeah, so I'll just run through them real quick. There's not a lot, but so I have my CrossFit Level 3 certification, which for those that aren't really in the CrossFit world, I would say it's kind of like the equivalent of the CSCS for CrossFit. Cool. There's like the Level 1, which a lot of people have. There's a Level 2, which some people have, and there's Level 3, which like 1% of CrossFit trainers have.
And you have the Level 3?
I have the Level 3.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's very like, it's a very thorough, extensive like written test where you're like in an exam room, they're watching you, that kind of thing. But it's a great comprehensive test. So that's on my CrossFit side. And then on my like traditional exercise science side, which is one of the reasons that our gym's kind of unique, is we take a little bit of both. We take a little bit of the CrossFit side, a little bit of the exercise science side. And the exercise science side, obviously 4-year degree, WSU bachelor's degree.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. So how applicable do you think these are? You have coaches underneath you, like how important do you think that certification is?
So the CrossFit certifications, I think, are very important. I think they're very well done because I think they're very applicable. Like if you want to learn how to work with clients in person the fastest, I really think CrossFit is like a world-class instructor on teaching coaches on how to coach.
Right.
I think when it comes to the art of coaching, CrossFit did a phenomenal job with that.
Awesome.
I think their affiliate structure is kind of wonky, but purely as a certification process, they knock it out of the park, which is why I spend a lot of hours and money on those certificates because they're really worth it. Now, the exercise science side of things, let me tell you why I went to exercise science. Right? So the reason why I went to exercise science is when you get out of the Marines, right, you get your GI Bill.
Okay.
And so if you go full time to college, not only will they pay for your college, but they'll also pay you for housing as long as you're doing 12 credit hours or more.
Nice.
So we were getting our rent paid for essentially by the military for me to go to college full time. So I'm like, well, you know, it's no money out of my pocket. It's actually money in my pocket if I go to college. Went to WSU, exercise science, so that I could make more money while I learned. But is it applicable from exercise science? I would say, so I actually it was interesting because I actually had already been doing coaching for a long time when I went. And I remember thinking in the program, I'm like, this program could be so much better.
Oh, I'm sure.
It could be so much better. They need to have more hands-on how to train stuff.
I completely agree.
I think if you're going to exercise science, it should be, you want to be like an exercise scientist where you are like literally in a lab
100%.
hooking people up to like, you know, CO2 tests and stuff like that, and like testing like what methodologies are most effective, and like actually doing like journals and research. Then I think that's worth it, right? Or maybe if you just like to teach that kind of stuff, that's great. If I was starting all over and I didn't have, you know, a GI Bill or anything like that, would I go exercise science or would I go certificate and start doing interning? I would certificate and start interning.
100%.
I would not go exercise science.
It's so true. Like it's tough because like the degree, it's like I say it's like your ticket to the show. And it's really like I got the CSCS and like you have to have the degree to get a CSCS. But yeah, like you're right. I mean, there's you have your anatomy classes, you have your kinesiology, but it's like, to be honest, I'm not really sure how much I use that stuff in my day-to-day grind as a trainer.
Right. And it's not like I just like phoned it in either. Like I really tried hard. I actually, you know, to toot my own horn here, I actually graduated top of my class.
Oh, nice.
So it's not like I was just like, oh yeah, I'll never use this. No, like I really worked my butt off in there. Like, you know, straight A's, all that good stuff. And like really tried to make the most out of it. And still afterward, I'm just like, I just don't think the way it's structured right now is worth it. I think if they made some changes, it'd definitely be worth it. But right now, to just coach people, I don't think it's worth it.
No, very well said. How long did you coach before opening up your own gym?
So I opened my gym in 2019. I would say I like really, you know, I got certified in 2012, but I really like started coaching like for work in like 2015, I want to say.
So about 4 years.
Yeah, about 4 years. And probably the first year was like kind of building up, and then like 3 really like intense years of like every single class, every single day. You know, I was in the grind for like a solid 3 years with a lot of training before that, but like actually like in it for like 3 full years.
How smooth was the transition from being a head coach to opening up your own gym? Like, was it weird at all, or?
So I actually really liked it because I kind of already liked the entrepreneurial thing. I already kind of tried my hand at a couple different entrepreneurial things, and I was like, man, I really like this. I just got to find that thing, because everybody's got that thing, right? And I was like, you know, I've always wanted to open up my own gym. That's why I had research so many things and train so hard, right? Is to just like learn as much as I could. So for me, I was like, when I opened up my own gym, it actually felt like a pretty smooth transition because I wasn't running like a gym as an owner would. I was just coaching classes in a gym. So it wasn't much of a change, right? I just had a little bit of extra stuff to do here and there at the beginning, but that's also because I had a big following when I opened the gym.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So from day one we were profitable. That's really good. Which is really good. Like
not many people can say that.
No, like, and so I was very fortunate. I was in a very fortunate position where we were profitable day one and have never had a red month. Nice. Yeah, we were always in the black.
We'll talk about like ultimately, why did you want to open up your own gym?
So I wanted to open up my own gym for, well, a couple of reasons. So number one, I just wanted to scratch that entrepreneurial itch. Number two is I had, trained for so many years, trained people for so many years that I kind of knew, like, I could see in my head the vision of like, this is the level of service I want to provide to people. Right. And I can't provide that level of service with where I'm currently at. Yeah. I want to provide more service to my clientele. And in order to do that, I need to structure things my way so I can provide that service. Yeah. And number three is just like kind of like the longevity of it. I was just like, I know that this is the next step for me. I'm someone who loves to be challenged. Yes. And I'm just like, if I just stay in this coaching role, I don't feel challenged anymore. I'm ready for the next step. And so to stay in it for like the longevity of it, I was like, I need the next step. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at too, is, always trying to think about long-term, what's the next step, and that's what's cool is like, obviously you coached and then you opened up your own thing at another place, or you were coaching at another place and then you opened up your own thing. And I think that's so common is a lot of trainers they'll be underneath a brand for a while and they just kind of get comfortable and they're just like, I want my own thing. Right. And I think that's just really cool. And I think it's, it's awesome that you did that for yourself.
Yeah. And my goal right now is to provide for my trainers and my staff where they don't need to go open up their own facility. My goal is to constantly challenge, reward, compensate our staff so well that they don't have to go through the process of accumulating money, trying to find commercial real estate, which is really hard to do. It's so hard to do. Yeah. And like, buying all the equipment just to have it potentially, break down, get robbed, whatever. Right. Yeah. And so it's just like, if I can provide a great level of service that my staff agrees with and like are on board with and can give them challenges and reward, they'll stay around for years. That's awesome. Because my goal is to make, because I've been there. I know what it's like to not be in a sustainable place as a trainer. Yeah. My goal is to make our trainers have a sustainable, well-paying job.
I think that's what's awesome about when you have a gym owner that's lived the grind as a trainer, because they know how it is. Yes. Because it's not easy.
It's not easy. No. I think totaling all the years up, it was probably about 6 years, because I had the 3 years of working as a head coach, and then I had my 3 years after I opened my gym of working pretty much the same hours and admin work on top of that. So it was really like 6 years of like 5 a.m. till, 7:30, 8 p.m., 6 years of that. Yeah. And so my goal is to have staff that don't work hours like that, but actually make more. Yeah. And I'm happy to say that like my head coach makes more than I ever did. And she's only been working for me like probably going on 7 months now, 8 months. And so she's already making more than I ever did. Yeah. And the next step is for her to reduce her hours.
Yeah, I guess that's what when I asked how smooth was that transition, like, did you go from coaching at, where you were at and then just boom, open up your own gym? Or was there a little down period of time when you were trying to find the building and get the equipment?
Oh man, that's quite the story. Okay. So it all happened in 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah. It was crazy.
Cause I think about opening up a gym myself, but I think like that would take a year or like 6 months.
30 days. So
30 days.
Yeah. Wow. So like, it's really interesting because, you really have like the support group and you got people wanting you to do something and you want to do it. And like, you just have
you'll find a way.
You'll find a way. Yeah. And that's really it. I came from, a fortunate, circumstances with a great group of people around me who wanted me to open up my own gym.
That's awesome.
And we went from like me leaving to like, and I was actually going to work for the YMCA. I was like, oh, no way. Yeah. So I was leaving the gym. Yeah. And I was like, yep, I want to do something else in order to like grow as a person. Yeah. And I was going to work for like the YMCA or OptiLife, trying to get more into like the managerial role.
Gotcha.
And I had so many people say like, hey, we want you to open up your own gym. And if you're going to do it later anyway, because I said, well, I'm going to do it down the road. They're like, well, if you're going to do it 2 years from now, just do it now.
Do it now, right?
And I talked to my wife and she said, hey, you know, if you're going to do it 2 years down the road, you might as well do it now while you still have a following.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have all these people that want to do it.
Yeah.
And so, I was just like, all right, guys, if you want in, you know, we're going to be opening like July 1st. And we had just we finally found a building and like signed the lease, which that's scary. Signing the lease is signing a 3-year lease with like no equipment purchase, no clients like that are official yet. You know, because that's
people could bail out and
bail out. And so and then buying all the equipment, it's a scary process. We got it all done and like people were getting trained 30 days later.
Jeez, that's
it was
crazy.
Wild.
That's awesome.
It was wild.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I honestly just I look back and I'm like, hey, what were you thinking? Because that is looking back and I'm like, how ignorant, kind of almost egotistical to think you could pull that off. But it really was just the grace of God that allowed that to happen.
How old were you when you started your own gym?
Oh boy, let's do some math here. So I'm 31, 4 years ago, 27. Okay. Cool. I only go by like 5s and 10s. I don't know if you know this. We're trainers.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Do you feel like you wish you would have opened it earlier? Or do you feel like you opened it up at the right time?
So looking back on it, I do think I opened it at the right time. I think most people would say you're crazy for saying that because you opened in 2019 and 2020 happened. COVID happened like literally 7 months. About 8 months into business, we were shut down.
That's crazy.
But everyone was so on fire and because we had just started it. So everyone was so fired and so pumped that everyone stayed on board. Everyone was like super team mentality to like stay in and be like, hey, if we want this business to succeed, like we're going to stay members and we're going to stay for online training. Cause that's what we did. So we made 3 programs. So we pivoted like that day. It's like, you're getting shut down. It's like, all right, we're pivoting. We're going to do 3 classes. We're going to have an online class where you do body weight only. We're going to have a dumbbell only, and we're going to have a barbell, like different workouts available. Nice. And then we rented out all the equipment. So like people that wanted to do barbell workouts, they rented a barbell. Gotcha. People that wanted to do dumbbell workouts, they rented a dumbbell. Nice. And the body weight workouts, they didn't rent anything. Gotcha. And we ran that for 2 months, and the community, like, my hat's off to them. They stayed strong. They stayed together. And we stayed as a unified front through 2 months of a really hard time for a lot of people.
Was that Zoom workouts or was that like just video and like on-demand access?
So that was, let's see. So we would write it out, and then we would have a pre-recorded video of how to perform that workout. And then they would put their scores. So we like record it on Facebook. And they would record their scores in the comment section.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Let's talk about, what is your favorite part about being a gym owner?
Well, for me, my favorite part about being a gym owner is I love getting to work with people from lots of different backgrounds and make them feel included in like one big happy family. That's my favorite part. That's what got me in the first place, right? Is feeling like I belonged, feeling like I was accepted. And that is my goal, is when someone walks through that door, they feel like this place is home. They feel like this place is family.
Talk about, what about your least favorite part about being a gym owner?
Least favorite part of the gym, being a gym owner, is probably just the stress of it. There's definitely stressful times because really at the end of the day, it is on you. Like if the ship, sinks or floats, it really is on you. You got to own every mistake that you make. And there's things that I like about that, because I'm like, well, I can't blame anybody else. It really is all on me. But the things I don't like about it is it really is all on you, and there's going to be long days, there's going to be late nights, if an employee leaves or if members leaves, if employee leaves, like now you have to pick up your pace even more.
So we'll talk more about your gym. Like, why did you name your gym LVL WOD?
Because the URL was really easy to get.
Nice. That's a really good name, I feel like.
Oh, well, thank you. I would, so originally this is kind of interesting. So really, really bizarre. So when we started our gym, we, were very underground. You could not find us on Google. We had no Google page. We had no Google Maps, nothing. Right. We were a ghost. And that was intentional. I even had some members like put us on Google Maps, and I told them to take it off. Wow. We were like a speakeasy, like you had to know somebody who knew somebody to find us. Really? And and so our name, when I was looking for names originally.
Because you originally didn't have a name.
Yeah. Well, so originally we were named ICT Fit, because I looked around, I'm like, I'm surprised this name isn't taken. And I like Googled it, like looked through it, looked through the USPTO, so the US Patent and Trademark Office. Like I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. And then a couple months later, it's like, oh, there's actually an ICT Fitness. And I'm just like, how did this not pop up last last time. Right. And so it actually worked out just fine. He's a former veteran. Well, he's a veteran as well. And so there's a layer of mutual respect. And I was like, hey man, like as long as you're cool with me being ICT fit and like because I wasn't on social media anyway. I wasn't on anything. So it's not like no one was getting confused. He's like, yeah, if you're not going to be online. And so when we did decide like, hey, we have a great service here. I have to get our name out there because I'm doing people a disservice who don't know that we exist. Like I need to let people know that we're a great gym that they might be missing out on. Right. And so when I made that decision, I was like, we got to go level WOD because A, no one has it. Yeah. And B, I needed 6 letters to keep my logo. I wanted the logo the same. Yeah, and then cool. C, it just made sense because, level, we use the level method. So LVL for level. And then workout of the day is pretty common vernacular and more of like the CrossFit circle. Yeah. Because even though we don't provide CrossFit exactly, it's close enough where someone who is in CrossFit would be like, I might give that a try. It's something kind of familiar to them.
What is the mission statement?
Yeah. So our mission statement is to be the most premium functional fitness studio in the Wichita area. And that's why that's kind of been my guiding light when it comes to like, what are we going to do? It's like, even when it came to like buying equipment, it's like, what are we going to buy? Top of the line. Nice. Like we're not getting those little no offense to anybody who has these, but like those like, rubber plates that look like they're made out of tires. You know what I mean? We're going to get like the nice colored plates, nice colored barbells, all the dumbbells match, not like mix and match from garage sales. Like, and for people that like that, that's fine for them, but that's not our mission statement. Our mission statement is to be the premium.
What about your core values?
Yeah. So our core values actually tie into ICT. So we have like I, C, and T. So we have inspire, connect, and transform our core values. And what's interesting is, and I don't think I even realized this at first, but those core values are very cyclical. Yeah. So like we need to inspire people, right? To kind of get the momentum started, right? Yeah. Whether it's through podcasts like you're doing or social media posts, right? We need to like get that spark kind of ignited in somebody and inspire them or sharing a testimonial. And then when they're inspired, it's time to connect them. It's time to connect them to other people, to, people that are on the same path as they are, to a guide, to a coach, and get them involved with a group of people to keep them on top of their game. Right. And then transformation happens, right? They transform because they got inspired, because they made a connection, and because they had a trainer leading them with a group of people. And what happens when transformation happens? That transformation inspires the next person. And it just is very cyclical.
How important do you think these things are, like mission statement, core values? I think there are some gyms that operate without these things. Like how important do you think this is?
Well, I think it really also depends to a degree on your size. So like, I think a company that's a lot bigger probably relies on these core values even more. Yeah. For me, like it's probably one of those things where could we have been just as successful without it? Yeah, probably. But as we grow, I think they're going to be more and more necessary because it brings the decision-making process back together for everybody. Right. So when there's like disagreements and stuff, it's like, well, what is our process? What is our values? Is this in line with that? It's not, then it's not happening, right? But when you're just the only person at the helm for a long time, probably isn't as necessary.
Yeah. So we'll talk about your location. Like, where are you located currently?
We're located in the best side of town, don't you know? Just south of the freeway, on Washington Street, essentially. Very lovely part of town, dirt road and a little dirt corner there. Yeah. But so the location, I knew I wanted to be centrally located. So I wanted it to be accessible from all sides of town. And we do. We have people from, the north, like way up north. We have people from Keachai.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and we have people from Derby. We got people from Hayesville. Wow. We got people from West Side, East Side, Andover. And so being centrally located really was great because we get so many different community pockets coming in. Because personally, for me, I want to build our gym tall. You can build tall or you can build wide. Still laughing at the location, huh?
So I'll talk. I know so many gym owners, like they stress the location. Yeah. Right. It kind of is in the middle of nowhere, I feel like.
Yeah, but it is, but it isn't. It's really weird.
But every time I come, the parking lot is filled with customers. So how important do you think the location truly is when opening up a gym?
Oh man. So, they say location, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So for gyms, no doubt location is part of it. Yeah. It is important, but I don't think you need prime real estate.
Yeah.
And I say that just because the amount that you spend on real estate is insane. I was actually just kind of perusing on some buildings. I was like, this might make a good gym location. I looked it up and I was like, that is crazy expensive.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, no wonder it's so vacant because you know what I mean? Like no one's going to spend that. And so, yeah, I think location to a degree is important. Like I said, like we are centrally located, but I don't think you need to be the prime retail front. You can be tucked away 1 or 2 roads back in a not so prime area. Right. And as long as it's relatively accessible, you're fine. Yeah. You know, the other thing too for gyms is like noise complaints and stuff. Like sometimes you need to be in a place that's that's not as retail based because like if you're right next to like an accounting office and you share a wall and you're dropping bars and people are screaming and there's death metal playing, like that might not be the best tenant for that spot. Yeah.
I guess I didn't really think of that. And I guess that probably happens a lot at CrossFit. It gets pretty crazy.
Yeah. It can get loud and like you got to be aware of where you're getting a space because of noise complaints. Yeah.
Well said. So like when you opened up the gym, did you look at like median income, surrounding businesses? Like did that play a factor at all?
No, it really was speed. I was just like, we got to find a spot because I told everybody July 1st we're going. Right, and so I was like, we got to find a spot. And really commercial real estate, is really so hard to find a good deal in the right space. Cause we looked at like 5 or 6 spaces and it's really hard to find a space where you're just like, is this open enough to host this many clients? And when I walked into this space, it was actually one of my really good friends, Elisa, who's actually one of the heads of NOLA, Elisa NOLA.
YMCA.
Yeah, she's one of the heads of the YMCA. And really smart gal, really great gal. But she's actually the one that found it. We were just kind of looking. She's like, hey, I think this might be the spot. I walked in. I was like, this is it. Let's sign it. Because we got to get stuff in here. It was a mess, though. It was a mess. It looks much nicer on the inside now. The outside's still a little
nice. Outside, but
the inside looks great. The inside looks great. The outside could use some work.
So we'll talk about like your operation. Like what does a normal day look like for you as a gym owner?
Okay. So right now, a normal day of me being a gym owner has looked like get to the gym around 7 a.m. I work out with my 7 a.m. crew.
Oh, nice.
Get done with that. And then I usually eat some breakfast, watch some like, educational gym owner business videos. And then, usually start contacting leads, contacting clients, just making sure that I'm staying on top of people inquiring about, questions and stuff like that. Yeah. And then usually I'll have a couple personal training clients throughout the day. And then I'm knocking out a lot of admin work and a lot of planning, just like, what needs to happen this month, what needs to happen next month. And then like planning ahead. My planning has gotten so much better. Now I look like several months out.
Oh, nice.
And it really does make a big difference. I think having like a year calendar right in front of you is really helpful. So, right now, my days usually are like 7 a.m. until probably 6:30 p.m. at the gym, but it does depend on the day and like if we're like really hitting sales hard or not, and if we're really doing lots of personal training. Like yesterday and today, both pretty manageable. Like today, I only had one personal training client today. I'm actually heading home after this at 4 to take care of the kids so my wife can go hang out with some of her friends so she can get some not in mom mode time. And then yesterday, just because I have been working so hard the last few months, yesterday I was able to take my wife out on a date at like 4:30. I got off, I left the gym, headed home around like 3 or 4, and we got ready and took her out on a date on a Monday night. Now keep in mind, that's like just now, like that's not like that took years in the making to get there. She was actually shocked I was able to take Monday off. I'm like, it's actually kind of slow right now. We're not really running a whole lot of like things to try and get people in the door right now. We're just kind of on cruise, and we have the time and the resources to be able to do this. But it's been years in the making.
Absolutely. How many hours do you think you work in a week on average?
So let's if I'm there from like 7 till 6:30 probably on average, is that about a 12-hour day ish, but that's including my workout. So let's say 11 hours. Okay. And then I do that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then I also work a little bit on like Wednesdays and Saturdays. Yeah. So, it's probably about 50, 60 hours probably. There's definitely days where it's way more than that. Yeah. And there's some days like yesterday that which it was less than that. Yeah. I would say though, my first 3 years in business, it was more like, probably like around 80 to, maybe, probably right around 80 hours, 80-hour weeks, like week after week for years. So it's just now starting to change. Just now starting to change.
Talk about like the real nitty gritty operation. So I know you have classes and you do some personal training and you do open gym. talk about like what's your really goal with a new member signs up? Like what's your ideal, like how do you really want your gym to run?
Yeah, so that's actually what I'm actively working on as an owner right now. So that's my paradigm shift was like when I first owned my gym, it was like I'm owning a gym to coach people.
Yeah.
Now it's like I'm owning a gym to help people and help staff, right? Trying to make good opportunities for my staff so they can make a good living with reasonable hours. Yeah. And so right now, the way that we have things structured is I have my head coach and a couple other part-time coaches. So I have one full-time coach, a couple part-time coaches who essentially lead the majority of the classes throughout the day. So I only coach 2 classes a week now. So I coach, Monday and Friday, I coach the noon. And that's pretty much it, unless they're on vacation like they were a couple weeks ago. Right, And then I was back in the grind again, 5 a.m. till 7:30 p.m., coaching all the classes and all the stuff in between. So, so I only coach 2 classes a week. My head coach and my other coaches coach most of the group classes. And then right now I'm responsible for essentially sales and onboarding new clients. So to answer your question, like when a new person comes in the door, we sit down, we chat about like, hey, what's your current situation? What's going on? And then what's your ideal situation? Where do you want to be? And then number 3, what's holding you back from getting there? And so we kind of just do a meet and greet, really get to know each other and really know like, what do they really want and how can I help them? Yeah. And usually the answer is they need personal training first. Okay. So that person and I will then do 5 sessions of training. Gotcha. We'll go through the movements to make sure they're moving well. They know how to activate the right muscle groups. And we also have time to slow down and kind of talk about nutrition and we also get their overall level through the level method system. So when they get to class, they know what option to pick and they're more comfortable with the movements. So that's our current process. My next step is to hire out more coaching staff so that my head coach has a little bit more variety in her day where she can coach half the classes and then the other half of her day is personal training. Gotcha. So that way it's not just class, and she has some more variety.
Gotcha. That's that's gotta be tough. The workout's the same, right? From 5 a.m. to 7.
Yeah. And so that's going to give her a lot more variety in her day. That way it just makes it more sustainable. And then eventually my goal is to have her pretty much work like half the day and have another full-timer work the other half of the day while actually paying her more than she's currently making. So it's all, as a gym owner now, my goal is all about how do I provide more opportunity for my staff.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because your head coach, she works like the morning and then the
evenings.
Yeah. So isn't that why you train the noon classes so she can break?
It gets a little bit of a break in the day. She can join the noon class. The nice thing too about like the way we structure things is she actually doesn't come in on Wednesdays. Okay, so even though she works really hard. She's a very hard worker. Oh, sure. So she works hard Monday, Tuesday, but then she takes Wednesday off so she can recoup and then hits it hard Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, 1 class, and then Sunday off. So although the days she has are very intense, there's some rest in between, and she knows that like I'm actively working on reducing her hours.
Cool. So we'll talk about hiring coaches underneath you because as a gym owner, kind of like you said, is if you have a bad coach, like that's kind of a representation on you as a gym owner. What do you look for when hiring a coach?
I really like the get it, want it capacity to do it. So there's I think her name's Gina Wickman. She wrote the book Traction.
Yes.
And so Traction is I would say it kind of is a little bit more broad strokes at first, but then it really does kind of bring it down to like, all right, so here's all these pie in the sky ideas. How do we bring that down? And that's kind of the idea of the book, right? How do we like really create like rubber on the road traction here? Yeah. So she has the get it, want it capacity to do it. So like, do they get it? Do they understand the job? Right? Do they understand the role? Do they really want it? Like you really want this, right? Like you're working your butt off, right? You put it long hours in, you're getting your name out there, social media, all that, right? Or for me, right? 6 years in the grind, like talking 60 to 80 hours weeks for six years, right? Do they want it? And then capacity to do it. Like, do they have, those interpersonal skills? Do they care? Do they all that stuff, right? Do they have the capacity to do that? That's kind of like my criterion. So I had a kid, I'll give you an example. I had a kid the other day. I was like, man, I really think this kid could be a really good fit here. And, I still don't know if he's going to say yes or not, but I was just like, I think he would have a really good future in this industry. Nice. But I could just be like, this is our interning process. This is what it looks like. I just don't think he's going to bite on it. And it's too bad because I don't think he wants it as bad as he thinks he wants it. Yeah.
I think that's so true. Like, it's not for everybody. And like, I think that's why the turnover rate's so high, is because the amount of sweat and dedication and work you have to put in for typically not a lot of pay in the beginning. It's really hard.
It's really hard. So when I first started coaching, I had coached for several years making $10 an hour.
Jeez.
Or $10 a class, not even an hour.
Wow.
Right. And that the most I ever made as a head coach was $15.50 an hour.
Wow.
Yep. Or class, I should say. So that doesn't include.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. It's really rough, especially when you're working 5 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., you know, multiple days a week. Right. And so I'm happy to say that my full-time staff, I pay more than that. Right. My part-timers, I don't pay more than that, but that's because they're also getting, you know, other bennies. Other bennies. Right. And they're doing it more just out of passion. They don't need the funds for that. Right. But awesome. Like doing, you know, being certified to coach for years and grinding for years and only seeing $15 out of that. Like I don't want for my full timers. I don't want that. I want to be able to put food on their table and for them to live comfortably and not have to worry about the next paycheck coming in.
In the CrossFit industry, it seems like you have coaches. So typically they're employees, right? Okay.
W-2 employees.
W-2, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't recommend contractors for our style of structure. Now, if you have something like what's it, Forge, like something
personal
like
training studio.
For like what Miles has going on. Like Miles, you know, I've met him a couple times over the years. He seems to be a really great guy from the times that I've met him. And he has, you know, more of like an open model, right? Like you have trainers come in and they can train their clients underneath. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but that's how it seems to work when I've kind of passed by there. That would make sense to have a, you know, an independent contractor. But for me, like if we're creating a structured business and if I tell an employee, like, I want you to do this way, and I'm like judging on how well they adhere to that. It's like, no, you're a W-2 employee. And you're going to be in a lot of tax trouble if you don't. Which, by the way, my first hire was a CPA. Strongly recommend.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Strongly recommend hiring out a CPA.
Yeah, I think that's well said because, I mean, when you have the class model, I think you want employees because you can put your style of coaching like on them kind of like, whereas an independent contractor, you really can't tell them what to do.
You can't tell them what to do legally. You can't tell them what to do. They can do whatever they want as long as it's like, you know, safe and within reason.
But it looks like you basically take care of the sales and then just funnel people into the classes for the coaches.
Right. Essentially, that's my current roles is more on like client acquisition and retention side of things. And then also on staff evaluations and management and stuff like that. But when it comes to like the actual like coaching classes, I don't really do a whole lot of that anymore. But like I said, that was, you know, out of the last 4 years, the first 3 were all that. First 3.5 were all me coaching, almost with like a couple part-timers helping out. But besides that, it was almost all me coaching.
Wow.
Yeah. And thank God for those part-timers because I probably would be dead right now. Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about growing your gym. Like, how do you get new members in the door?
It's really, it was really tough when we have a new gym with a new name who really hasn't been on the map very long. Like I said, we were underground for so long. Now we actually, believe it or not, more than doubled our membership while being underground.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. Like it was awesome. Like we literally like got to I would just like for reference, like kind of say like a CrossFit style gym, right? Cause it's similar like micro gym style, like a very healthy number of clients with only word of mouth, zero marketing. Like it was pretty awesome. And I have my clients to thank for that because my clients, you know, they're the ones telling other people, right? It's because I have just rock star clients that really love what we do. But the other thing is we had to just provide a very good service that was worthy of people telling their friends. But then what I noticed is after we got to that healthy size, very slowly, a lot of people started just kind of moving away. Because what I realized is we were kind of in a bit of a gridlock when COVID happened. The first year or two after COVID, not a whole lot of people were moving in or out. It was just kind of like everyone wasn't sure what was going to happen next. And so the jobs kind of just stagnated. But then over the last year, more and more of some of our clients just started leaving town. I'm like, well, shoot, I'm not getting any new clients moving into town because no one knows we're here. So I got to get on that. So most of what we grow through referral or online, but we've been pushing the online a lot harder and it's paid off.
And I mean, talk about that. Like as a gym owner, how important do you think social media is? Because I know there's some gyms, like kind of like you said, like at the first few years, you probably didn't do any of that. But I know there's some new gyms, like they focus so much on posting. What's your thoughts there?
I actually listened to yours and Anna Kate's thoughts on that, and I was just like, well,
you probably have a different perspective.
I have a different perspective, but that's also that's probably not, probably listen to their perspective, not mine. So, I was the guy that was undercover for 3 years, so probably don't listen to my perspective. But I will say for social media, I do have people that I know, because I know a lot of gym owners, and I do have people that I know that really put a lot of time and effort in social media and are starting to see some return on investment on that. Personally, I feel like social media is kind of more of like a resume. Like, I don't know if that's exact. It's not necessarily for me personally. I think most people are going to Google. I think most people are like, gym near me in Wichita, best gym near me, something like that, or best personal trainer near me. I think they're typing that into Google and seeing what pops up. And so I think more time should probably be allocated to that. But, for our social media, I'm not very good at it. What I do, I try to make pretty decent quality, but like yours is like very consistent. Like you have a very specific, consistent, like personal brand that you're putting out there. And so for like personal trainers, maybe that's more critical. Like Anna Kate actually kind of did that too. She really focused on her personal brand. Absolutely. In fact, almost now to a little bit of like, she had mentioned that she kind of thought about changing the name, right? Because people almost expect to work with her, right? But it's just like, it sounds like it's not a problem the way she has it figured out now. Maybe if you're like doing the personal training route, you probably do need to get your name out there more on social media. For us, I almost never get clients reaching out to us like, hey, I really loved your Facebook post. Can I join? It's usually not that. But when people are thinking about joining our gym, and then they're like, oh, this guy's been posting regularly. Oh, that looks like a pretty cool place. Those people look like me, or they look like they're having a good time. It's kind of just like a resume. Like, oh, they have some evidence that this looks like a nice place. And then they see your Google reviews, and then they're like, okay, maybe we should give this place a try. But I don't think anyone's organically finding us on social media.
So we'll kind of start to wrap it up. Do you view other gyms as competition? Like, why or why not?
Central County's got 500,000 people in Central County, right? That's a 500,000 people. It's a ton of people. My gym could probably, it'd be getting pretty tight, right around 300 members. So you got 300 out of 500,000.
Seriously.
And you look around at the amount of people that need our services. I just don't think that just if you look at the numbers, I don't think it'd be reasonable to think that gyms, are your competition in that sense. Right. But that being said, on the flip side of the coin, I do think that to a degree, there is some competition because
CrossFit gyms.
Like if you're going to a CrossFit gym and they're not providing a good service or the style of service you want, there's one down the road. And so it's just like, it's a little bit of both. Yes, there is competition, but I don't think it's like a limiting mindset. I think it should be a very healthy thing, because competition is the best for the consumer. It's true, because it makes sure that if there was no competition, gyms would not be trying as hard, because they'd be like, well, of course these people are going to stay. Where else are they going to go? Right? You're the only place in town, right? But competition is actually a good thing. So I look at the competition more in like a positive light, not a negative light. It's like, I'm pushing myself, just like when you go and train, right? When you're training, right? And you're with a group of people who are also front squatting or back squatting, right? Like you're probably going to put on a couple more plates because they're right next to you, right? Now it's not a vicious competition where you're like hoping that other person blows out a kneecap, right? But you're just like, okay, I see you putting on 5 pounds. I'm going to put on 5 pounds, right? And so I look at it more as like a all ships rise when the tide does kind of thing, not so much like you're going down and I'm sailing smooth. You know what I mean?
Do you believe Wichita is oversaturated with gyms?
There are a lot of gyms.
There are a lot of gyms,
But I wonder if that's just because I'm in the gym space. I wonder if I was a client outside of the gym space, if it would feel that way or not. You know what I mean? Just like a prospect. If I was just a prospect outside the gym space, I'm all consumed by the gym space. Like it's what I think about. It's what I focus on. I wonder if it's just more top of mind. Kind of like if I say, if you buy a red Jeep, you're probably going to see a lot more red Jeeps. But if I don't, I probably won't even think about it.
That's true.
I honestly don't know the answer to if it is oversaturated. I will say there's a lot of successful gyms out there,
It's true.
And there's
very true.
Probably a lot of other gyms like mine that you've probably never heard of.
No, you're right.
Their parking lots are full just like ours are.
Absolutely.
And where there's definitely still a huge need, and everyone's got a different style that they jive with as a client. Everyone's got a style that they jive well with. And I think the goal really for gyms is just, how do we find the people that really want us? And if they don't want us, there's another gym down the road that they will like, but we just got to have people find the right spot for them so they can stick to it and make progress. That's the important thing.
What advice would you have for someone who wants to open up their own gym?
Advice to a person to open up a gym. Number one, definitely, go into it for the right reasons, right? You do need to be passionate about it. You do need to recognize that this is going to be a long game. So if you're like,
absolutely,
like I said, like it's been about 3 years before I really started even treating it as like an owner type perspective, right? Yeah. But I was in it for the long haul and I was willing to like take that time. So I think you got to be in it for the right reason. But I would also say if you're going to open up a gym, I think you need to have a growth mindset. And I think you need to go in without the martyr attitude. I see a lot of gym owners that go in, they're like, it's not about the money, man. It's not about the money. It's like, you're right, but you gotta make money because it's not just about you anymore. It's about all your clients are counting on you, all your staff's counting on you. And I really had to when I first started, because for me it wasn't about the money either. I just wanted to do it. But I do remember telling myself, like, I will not be a martyr. I am not going into this to not make a living. I'm going into this to help a lot of people and make money. And absolutely. And there were some days where I'm like, oh, I really wanted to spend more time programming and getting into all these percentages and being really nitpicky. And then I would be like, is this money? I was like, but is this the right decision right now? Is this putting money into the gym's pockets? And it's like, no. It's like, what is the thing that's going to move the needle? And it's like, you're going to have to do that, even though you don't want to, because your heart like wants to just provide an amazing service for your people. It's like, this is good enough. You need to go do this. And so that's, I guess my advice is going with the right reasons, but don't go in as a martyr. Make sure you're very passionate about it and that you have a long time horizon. And I think the final piece of advice I'd give people is if you do start a gym, think about the numbers a lot, on like how much you're going to charge, how many people you're going to need, break even, all that. And really consider hiring a mentor as well. Like throughout your athletic career, you've probably had lots of coaches, you know what I mean? And they've built you as a better athlete, as a better coach. Same thing for owning a business. You need to have somebody showing you the ropes, showing you what to do, showing you what you should focus on, what is good enough, and moving that needle forward.
I did want to ask you this question. Between becoming a Marine, competing in CrossFit, and opening up a gym, which was the hardest and why?
Which was the hardest and why between the Marines, competing at CrossFit, and then owning the gym? Well, I will say the Marines was very difficult at times, and there were definitely long hours, no doubt. CrossFit competing, very physically demanding, constantly pushing yourself day in, day out. And then owning a gym, it's pretty much nonstop. I would say probably not the number two. It's probably one or three. Actually, now that I think about it more, definitely not number two. It's definitely one or three. So the being a sniper thing, the toughest part about that is just being away from your family for long periods of time. When it comes to like opening a gym, although it is like a lot of different stressors, more so than in the sniper platoon, because when you're in a sniper platoon, there's going to be ebbs and flows, highs and lows, but like you're just there with your guys, doing your thing, doing your trainings, whatever, right? And that's it, right? Whereas like gym owning, it's like you have to constantly focus and grow that gym baby, so to speak. But I also get to lay my head down in my bed every night.
That's true,
I will say though, mentally, probably owning a gym is actually mentally tougher than being a sniper. I actually really liked the training in sniper school and stuff like that. I really liked it. I liked that challenge. It was physical. And I was gone for periods of time. But like when it comes to just constant like mental stress and focus and like really just being on it, I'd say probably owning a gym.
I figured you'd say that.
Did you really?
Yes. I put a poll. I put a poll on Instagram, and everybody voted that.
Really?
Yes. So it was a little sneak peek.
Man. I think owning a gym is probably more stressful.
I bet you it's also probably like one of the most rewarding things you've done, though.
I do think it's very rewarding. It's even more rewarding now because now that I've been in the industry this long, I've changed my mindset on things. I've hired some amazing, employees over the years. Part-timers, full-time included, like just amazing people, amazing clients, really just very blessed. So now my wife doesn't have to work. I can bring home an income. Awesome. Wow. So like, really cool. We got 2 kids. She's pregnant right now. Wow. And so we're making enough of a living where my wife doesn't have to work and she can just take care of the kids while I do this and grow the business.
I know a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like, they have their spouse has more of a corporate stable job, and then the entrepreneur has more of that riskier job. So that's actually really cool that you can say that.
Yeah. And, you know, as a word of encouragement to gym owners, like I heard you're saying that 36,000 is kind of like the average,
it is,
you know, and I don't think you should settle for that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you as a gym owner can make way more than that if you have some mindset changes, work your butt off, and focus on the right things by hiring a mentor to help you show you what those right things are. You can make an amazing living. And I know lots of gym owners who make crazy good money, but it took takes time, and that's why you have to have the long game in mind. You gotta have the long game in mind.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, appreciate your time. I know you're very busy, so thanks for coming out. Where can we find more about your gym?
Yeah, so you can find us at LVLWOD.com, LVLWOD.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I will, you know, like I said, I'll message you back, but you know, I won't hold my breath for you. But I do want to just give a quick shout out too, just to my wife. Thanks for your support over all the years and being willing to put up with all my long hours. I want to give a big thank you to all my coaches, and then a big shout out to my wonderful community at Level WOD, who's just an amazing group of people and would not be in the position I am without them. And then thanks to you, David.
Yes, thank you. That's pretty much it for today, and appreciate you all tuning in.